The museums that are here at the military museums are part of the Canadian Armed Forces Military Museums system. There's 71 military museums across the country that are officially accredited with the Directorate of History and Heritage. And 7 of those are here at the military museums, so we're quite pleased to have a major center of military history. And we're here to educate the public about Canada's very interesting and proud military history, all the way from the Boer War on up to the present day in terms of Afghanistan. There's a lot of interactive dioramas here at the military museums that really immerse you in history, such as you can walk through a First World War trench in the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry Gallery. So it's got everything from firing steps, which is where the soldiers would go to fire over the wall of the trench. You know, regularly they'd be lowered down in the trench to get out of the way of sniper fire and that sort of thing. But it's so well done that you can hardly tell that the gesso material that makes up the flooring of the trench, it's not water, but it really looks like water. It's sandbagged just like you would see an actual trench. It's got barbed wire and the trench posts, the barbed wire trench posts that are there, those are true to the style that would be seen during the First World War as well. And it's even got soldiers in it, so you feel like you're in there with the actual soldiers fighting during the First World War. And they're all using weapons that would have been used at the time of the First World War as well. Really, there's 107,000 square feet here to explore, and for the big bang for the buck that way, you're not going to get that in a lot of other museums across Canada. The University of Calgary is very well integrated into the Military Museums facility overall. They've been a great help here over the years. They started out managing the library and archives here, and that's grown significantly since their initial involvement.
When they expanded the Museum of the Regiments, bringing in the Air Force and the Navy and some additional Army units, they built a significant expansion of the facility, and they wanted to have a research facility, a library and an archives. And to their credit, rather than thinking that they could develop that program, which would have taken substantial investment, they turned to the University of Calgary as a natural partner to develop those kinds of strengths, and the library is certainly very competent in that area. So we have 2 facilities there, one which began from the very start, some 10 years ago, and that is a library and an archives. But with the renovation and the substantial expansion of space, the library and archives developed a real capacity, reading room in addition to storage area, and so it's evolved significantly. Probably the most important development there was our receiving a collection called the Chicksands Collection.
Yeah, well, UC has a really unique collection here for military history and strategic studies. It's really a premier collection, and that's for a couple reasons. Part because we have the whole Chicksands collection, which is a massive collection. Items going back to the 18th century up into the 1970s, and it came from the UK, from the Ministry of Defence. And it was everything their military attachés had collected and put aside when they're doing trips elsewhere. And that collection came over as a set, 50,000 volumes, 26,000 volumes of which we have cataloged and accessible. Folks can come in and use it in the library and look at it. We also digitize parts of it, so if someone's not able to come in but they want to see it, for instance. We'll digitize those and we put them up on our website, and then we have actually a bunch of other items of particular interest that have been digitized as well. So you can either get it online or come in depending on the item. If you're looking at ways to interact with the First World War, to know it better and think about it as you get into the Great War, and let's say you're not looking for a book, UFC also has a phenomenal video game collection, digital game, interactive media, maybe you might want to call it in this case. And we do have one game called Valiant Hearts, which is Ubisoft, a French studio, doing the Great War. And not only is it sort of the French take and how they popularly memorialize the war and what they remember, which is a little different than what we normally see or think about. There's one level in that game where there's smoke clouds in the background from like heavy artillery, and it's in the shape of the Vimy Memorial. So they're totally memorializing Vimy and Canada's contribution in the war. Not a level they had to include, but obviously can exist in the French popular memorialization. Your main character is alongside the Canadian troops in that part of the game. So it's just a great way to interact with the game if you don't want to read, say, a longer piece of nonfiction. You're looking for a way to get into it and think about it and have some experience of both human narratives and stories and some factual content. Valiant Hearts is a reasonable approach as well.
We actually run a Remembrance Day ceremony here on November 11th. We've drawn up to 17,000 people in the past. It's one of Canada's largest outdoor ceremonies, let alone one of Canada's largest Remembrance Day ceremonies, period. If you're planning to come here on November 11th, get here early. Try and get here by 9 o'clock if you can. Parking is going to be difficult, particularly this year. The Flanders Avenue overpass has been taken down for reconstruction. So you'll need to enter either via 33rd Avenue or 50th Avenue. Check our website, themilitarymuseums.ca, for detour routes. Also plan to be here until about 11:30, 12 o'clock, because getting out with all of the cars is also difficult. Dress warm as well. You never know how cold it's going to be those days.